stuff. So
Yeah, so Kevin Knight, Urban Events Global. It's a travel-based company where I bring African Americans from around the world to travel the world together in safe, comfortable spaces, right?
all right.
And so it's a company that I started around 2011, 2012. And the reason why I say around, because it wasn't a company at first. It was just me and some friends hanging out, and it grew into a company. At the time, I was still in corporate America, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, in the private equity world.
Okay.
I was in that space for 16 years, but I started this company while I was in corporate America. And so eventually it got to the point to where I was tired of corporate America. Two, it became impossible to do both, have a 9-to-5 career and then come home and handle your own business.
All right.
It starts to affect your health. It starts to affect your mind,
Yeah, you can't just go 100% on.
Right. You're literally getting home, taking off your suit and tie, and then you're checking like 20 voicemails and jumping into your second job for the day. So it just got exhausting. And I was actually in Austin at the time. This was 2016. I was just like, no, I can't do it anymore. And so I just said, hey, I think I've done enough financially to where I could step away from my whole career, all my licenses, all my achievements in that career, and say, you know what? We're just going to go camping and go travel the world and bring people with us. And I believed enough into it to do it.
Okay.
And so from there, I started realizing that the campground, because it started with Urban Camp Weekend, the campground kind of controlled what I can do.
Right.
So I knew at that point I need to control my own narrative. I need my own campground. So I started planning and plotting and saving to one day buy my own campground. And so now I have Twisted Pines.
What exactly you mean by like campground?
So for example, the biggest fee that I paid for my events are the venues, right? So I would spend $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 to rent out this venue for the weekend.
Damn.
But they have the opportunity to dictate whatever price they want to charge. And there's nothing I can do about it because there's no other campground that's going to let 1,500 African Americans come take over their campground from Thursday to Sunday.
All right.
Playing music to 2, 3 in the morning. It's just not, they're just not going to let you. They're going to block you out of that. So you're at the whims and wishes of others. You know what I mean? And so I knew at that point, I need to own my own campground, and soon.
And who exactly was like over this? Who managed those campgrounds? Is this like a private owner or something?
Yeah. So the original campground was in New Braunfels. And most campgrounds are private owners, except for like Yogi Bear. There's some franchise campgrounds, but for the most part, a campground is usually owned by some old family who's been owning it for years, and they may have passed it down to their kids if their kids wanted to take it over.
Right.
But I knew at this particular campground that the owner was starting to get a little greedy, and I could just tell just from conversations like, okay, this price is going to keep going up over the years. So I kept quiet, stayed humble, like, you know what? Let me just keep stacking some paper.
Right.
Then eventually at some point buy my own campground. And so in East Texas now we have Twisted Pines Campground and RV Park, which is adjoining to the racetrack that I have out there, Lone Star Speedway, with the Knight LaFear Investment Group. And we have an Airbnb out there as well. So yeah, that's a lot, but when you start going down your entrepreneurial journey, you just start expanding and you don't even know, you know what I mean?
Right.
Just like your business is starting to expand as well. You start bringing on more people. You didn't even know you needed this, you needed this, you need that, you need developers. It just happens. And then you start once you get into the game, and this is in any game, once you get into the game, you start learning about different opportunities and different ways to connect, from point A to point B. I could fill that gap.
Right.
And I can make it profitable. And that's all entrepreneur. That's all being an entrepreneur is just finding out what's needed and supplying what's needed. Right. Or sometimes giving people something that's needed that they didn't know was needed. Smartphones,
Right.
We didn't know we needed smartphones. Our phones were fine until he said, here's an iPhone, you can do this. I never knew I wanted to play games on a phone until you showed me how to waste time and play games on a phone.
For real.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I view it.
Okay.
As you were looking for these campgrounds and stacking your money up, did anybody put you on game on how to go about with the purchase or
No.
how to?
No.
Like, yeah, was this all
research?
like learned? Because this shit, like, trying
It
to
takes.
find the path.
You learn real quick that information lives in a silo out there, and not everyone wants to share information.
Oh yeah.
Right, and so, but this type of information is just purely a real estate play. It's just finding a campground that's for sale,
Right.
or finding an RV park for sale, and then trying to develop it out. And so, no one told me, but at some point I knew. When I look around, this is just a big piece of land.
Pretty much.
They had some showers, some bathrooms.
Right.
We brought everything else out there. We brought the stage out there. All they literally had was a couple of cabins. Excuse me, they had a couple of cabins, some showers and bathrooms. It's like, I could do that.
Yeah.
They're basically just like renting you out the space on some shit. Like,
Yeah, they're renting out the space for a whole lot of money, and we basically kept them in business for years.
Dang.
And so as soon as I left, their campground, effectively 80% of the campground went out of business because they weren't getting our money. They weren't getting our money. So they sold literally 80% of their land and only kept a small little part because that's all they could afford.
So
And that's
were
what
they not diversified with like a lot of different people, or just
they just couldn't afford. I mean, we had been with them from like 2011, 2012.
right?
And so they depended on our money. And I started with just once a year. And then when Urban Camp Weekend got big, we moved it to twice a year, summer and fall. So they were getting 30, 40, 50,000 a year from us, which for a campground is a lot of money because they don't have that many expenses.
Right.
Then, know, and in the summertime, they would do okay with renting out tubes for people who wanted to float the river in New Braunfels. That's a big thing, floating the river. So they made a killing, $20 tubes, hundreds of college students coming out there. They're making money, but they weren't making 20, 30,000 a clip.
Right.
Dang.
And so once he started going up in price, I was like, okay, I'd pay it.
Yeah.
Right.
But I was like, if he would have just kept it a decent price, I wouldn't have been in a rush to find my own spot. We were doing okay financially. We had other events going on, making money, and so. But once I saw his ways, it
kind of like made you get that
expedited
edge
the process. Expedited the process.
That's
big
funny
time.
because I'm reading Sam Walton's book.
Yeah,
he basically talked about soon as he saw competition like opening a bigger store, he was like, not a chance. I'm about to get that store before they even get it. So it's kind of like having that itch to like keep people away from my business.
Yeah, if he was still alive and still thought like that, I would probably say that Amazon wouldn't exist. Because Walmart had the biggest platform out there. You know what I mean? Like, how does Walmart miss the boat on
e-commerce?
E-commerce,
that
were the biggest.
How did Toys R Us miss the boat on? Like, how do you mess up toys?
Yeah.
How do you mess up toys? Like, Toys R Us to file for bankruptcy. How do you mess up toys? Like, but when you have a bunch of old people sitting in boardrooms that don't acknowledge young people and change. You fall behind, like Blockbuster Video. A bunch of old companies that
you see it now,
Yeah, I mean Netflix came and tried to pitch them on it. And it's just like nah.
Yeah, and so you have to listen to what the young people are doing. Like right now, I've been Googling what's it called, Roblox.
Roblox.
Oh my God, I've been hearing about it a lot too.
Like the kids are
begging their parents.
Little
nephew got Roblox. What's it called? Roblox cards.
Yeah,
something like that. You spend Robux or something.
That's like genius.
It's crazy.
And it's like most adults, unless you have kids or nephews that you're involved with, you don't think anything of it. But you better.
No, yeah.
Like that's a wave. Everything that kids have done has been the next wave. Everything from social media to, think about it, even Facebook, right?
I would say even like Crocs. I feel like a lot of young people were wearing them.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, like even in my investment world, I was always looking at what young people were doing. I don't care if it was Tickle Me Elmo, fidget spinners, whatever. Just observe, be aware, be alert, observe, and you'll say, you know what, that's probably gonna be the next wave. I don't remember how old you guys are, but if you ask a kid nowadays, like, what's your favorite cartoon? I like cartoons. Like cartoons are 24/7 now.
Yeah.
There was a time where you just, you had Saturday morning cartoons,
Right.
or you had certain TV
You were in
channels.
school and I stay at the crib and I was
Yeah,
watching
type
cartoons.
Yeah. Or it's like, what's your favorite channel? I like channel. I don't watch TV.
Yeah.
I'm on YouTube or Netflix, or, you have a few favorite shows, but they move different.
Oh, yeah.
And if you don't learn how to move with them,
Stay behind.
Yeah. It's not gonna work.
So you, bro, how did you get this like mentality? Because you studied business and economics,
Yeah.
I think, right? Like, were you always interested? So for urban events, right? Were you always interested in different ideas, or you said it started with just some friends? You took this project and kind of like saw the economics in it, or
Exactly. It started off with just some friends saying, "Hey, this campground charges like $15 a person to camp out there for the weekend." So like me and my girlfriend at the time, a homeboy and his girl, some of my other female friends, like it's 7-8 people.
Right.
It's like, hey, you bring the milk, I'll bring the eggs, you bring the water. It was like some small stuff. We're just hanging out, posted some pictures online. Next thing you know, people are like, hey, I want to go next time. Like that seems pretty cool. Seems different. You know, you don't see black people camping. Like all right. I didn't think anything of it. The next year rolled around, I kind of mentioned it, like 40, 50 people came out, and then it just got bigger.
wait, and you just kind of like telling people, hey, I'm about to
go
do a
camping.
camping. Y'all want to pull up on some like, fill out the
Pull
Google
up-
form? Pull
Yeah,
up on some
basically.
shit.
It wasn't even Google Forms back then. It was just like, I want to say just PayPal me the money or something. I'll send it all in. Like, it was no Google Form back then. If it was, we weren't using it. Like, I didn't start using Google Forms till later. So it was real generic. I put little to no effort into it. Like, I remember some of the early ones, I wouldn't even show up to the event until like Friday evening. So I would tell my friends, like, yo, save me a spot at my own thing.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't in, like, we were just having fun.
Right.
I wouldn't even be in the country. Like, I'd literally be flying back and be like, all right, I'm about to drive down there. I'll see y'all in a little bit.
Yeah.
And then I'll have to pitch my tent at night.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
And so it started off very just organic. Like, we're chilling.
just
We all
having
had
fun.
jobs. Like, we're not trying to make money off of camping. This is fun. You know what I mean? Like, we're just hanging out. Until you're like, I can make some money off of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so at some point you start doing the math and you're like, okay, let me upcharge a little bit because we're providing this, and this. And then it just became a big deal.
Okay, so it was like more making money on, like the current cost was just kind of like the things you were providing then.
Yeah, like nobody was making money. We were just literally like, hey, it's gonna cost me this amount. So divide that by the 15 of us and that's what everybody chips in, you know? But then it just got bigger and then we're like, well, let's bring a DJ. Well, let's bring a stage. Well, let's do this. Let's do that.
So you started experimenting, doing all types of different shit.
Right. And I'm like, well, this is time consuming because again, we're still all working in our career. You know, like we have real jobs. Like not just a job, we had careers.
You like
job
working
is
investments. I know the
good
time.
salary, benefits,
salaries, bonuses,
everything.
401ks. Like we had real careers and everyone was doing financially well. So this is just some summertime, like, let's just go out and kick it and relax. But then it just got bigger and bigger. And then people started asking me to go on different events that I was doing because, again, this was just something that I did. Like, I wanted to go camping. I go travel the world. But people just wanted to do those things with me. So I was like, all right. And then we went to St. Thomas. We had like 300 some people. And I was like, man, y'all really want to like travel with me?
really
Okay.
want it.
All right.
Wait, so people just at that point, that's when you started seeing like, okay, now people really like
because I was
pulling
just
up
putting stuff on social media of stuff
Right.
that I was just doing with like me and my girl or me and my boys, but they're like, no, we want to go to Brazil when you go to Brazil. We want to go here when you go here. All right.
Bro, so how do you even manage that many people? Because with my homies,
That's what I'm thinking right now.
Yeah,
It's
with
just
my
like-
homies, like we just planned a trip to Colorado. It was like 6 of us, and then that was very difficult to plan. You know what I'm saying? It's like
even like finding out what events to do. It's like, nah,
exactly.
let's
We
do
start
this, let's do
bringing
that.
up like numbers and how much an activity cost, and then people start belling out, and it's like I'm usually like the planner because I like to keep everybody in line because some people would be flaking. So how do you manage so many people?
It's
Like
easy, man. One, they're adults.
Yeah.
They're adults that went on my website and paid, first of all.
Well, that's
You
true.
see
Once
what I'm
you
saying?
pay,
Once you
yeah,
pay,
yeah.
It's like you locked in.
You locked in.
locked
You're gonna pay attention.
Yeah.
And then it's just housekeeping after that. It's like, we'll have a private group chat set up just for everyone on that trip. So let's say it's 80 of us in Ghana or in Dubai. We're all in the same WhatsApp group. And then you already have an agenda. You know,
Right.
9 a.m. this, 11 a.m. this.
And this is you setting up the agenda. You did all that.
Yeah, I already did all the planning. So you're just there for the ride. We already got the hotel. We already got the transportation. It's all set up. So the only thing I'm going to do is give you a reminder at, 8 o'clock in the morning and just say, hey, reminder, 9 a.m., transportation's leaving. See you in the lobby.
Gotcha.
Right.
I've already told you, the day before during the welcome dinner, hey, like we don't wait, So general housekeeping rules is, if we don't see you down there at 9, we're just assuming you don't want to go. You decide to sleep in.
Right.
So there's no need to text and be like, oh, we're in the elevator. Hey, are y'all still
So
here?
you put yourself in that position on some shit. Like,
I need to put those expectations on my travel friends, bro.
Motherfuckers will still be mad at you talking about, bro, why you leave, bro?
Right. Because here's the thing. If I say we're leaving at 9, that means most people are going to get down there at 8:45.
Yeah.
So if I wait to 9:15 to leave, that means that you've been waiting for 30 minutes now. When that other person just got there at 9:15. Right. So you're like, well, man, I could have hit snooze 3 more times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like 30 minutes is a lot of time if you just got drunk the night before and and now you're about to go on tour. You know what I mean? So we don't wait. When that transportation's there, we load them up, we're out.
So as you start scaling like these type of projects, more people are coming. Like, what type of challenges start coming up? Because obviously you have challenges soon as, with us, you start having like another person like join, let's say, a beta testing, and this person has a challenge, whether a bug on their phone. With human logistics, I can only imagine the amount of problems that you've encountered, especially with a group of 200. Or you just kept it really clean.
It's pretty clean. It's there aren't that many problems to be had, right? I mean, you're literally waking up in the morning, and let's say the tour is the Burj Khalifa, right? So we have a bus downstairs, or maybe 2 buses, 2 55-passenger buses. We have 2 tour guides, a tour guide on each bus that are local.
Right.
I'm in the lobby, and I'm like just kind of waving people like, hey, the bus is that way, bus is that way. I'm looking at my clock. My staff's looking at the clock. At about 8:59, I start walking out the lobby, walking toward the bus. Yeah. And then Ashley or whoever is assisting me, she'll do a count on one bus. I'll do a count on another bus. Let's go. Yeah. That's it. You get so you go from point A to point B. Point B, you unload. We go on whatever tour, or if we're doing like the 4-wheelers or the camel riding or safari, whatever it is we're doing, it's pretty easy to keep up with people. And most of the time they'll have on like some Urban Event Global trinket bracelets or something.
Oh, dope. Okay.
So we kind of know where you're at. We're not going to leave you if we take you to like Table Mountain, or we take you somewhere. We're not going to leave you. But at the same time, like you kind of you see the group.
I feel like you got to be very committed. I mean, if you're paying, like you said, from the initiation, it's like you're committed to be on your shit.
Like you've paid $2,500 to like $4,000 to be there, so you're not a slow person. You know what I mean? Because that's just what you paid us. Flights aren't included, so you paid X amount for whatever your flight was. You emailed your boss, said, hey, I need these days off. Like there's some steps you took to make it that far with us. So you're not a slow person. You know how to keep up. You know what I mean?
Do you feel like you had to sharpen your skills, like as a salesman coming into this business, kind of like to network as well? Because you got to be very plugged in, right?
Like you short answer, yes. I was in sales.
So you kind of already had that mouthpiece.
I was in sales, but I have a different clientele now. You know what I mean? And so I have
different needs.
In the financial world, most of my clientele were had a very high net worth. Right. Okay, we'll put it that way. So they came from a very different socioeconomic standpoint. Depending on which business we're referencing, it's a different clientele. Yeah. Some clientele are going to trip over a $5 fee. Some won't trip until it's a $50,000 fee. You know what I mean? And so it's just, when you spend 16 years in financial services, you're used to a very certain type of clientele.
And it's very fixed.
It's very, and there's a lot of rules and regulations around that. With the SEC, it's the most highly regulated industry in the U.S. You have like financial services, you have like healthcare, but it's up there. Right. So you just adjust and adapt, and then we're all human, so I still have to work on patience with certain situations. Just like you guys do what you do, it's your baby, right? So when somebody's attacking your baby, you have to have a different level of patience and think it all the way through of what you're about to say or how you're going to respond, because you are the boss, so the buck stops there. And it's not like, let me talk to your manager. It's like, I am the manager.
I do this, I do that.
But then you have to watch what you say, because if not, they'll try to cancel you on social media. He said this, or they wouldn't give me a refund. I'm like, but it says no refund. Like, it's not like we picked on you, but it says no refund.
Exactly.
I can't do an event with 1,500 people, and then the day before, everyone's like, oh, my grandma died, my dog died.
Excuses.
Can I get a refund? I was like, could I give 1,500 refunds if everybody's dog died on the same day?
Yeah, it's like a policy, and you got to stick to it.
I got to stick to it, because if not, you're going to be like, oh, we'll just call Kevin, because last year when this happened, they gave me a refund. And then if I say no that year, it's like, well, last year you did it for so-and-so. It's like, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. So just don't.
That I'm really interested in is kind of like the economics. So I'm an investor, right? I like to invest in stocks, and I'm always looking at annual reports, trying to understand the business model. For yours, there's like a lot of moving parts.
You're probably not gonna like my answer, but go ahead.
I want to know.
You're really surprised at my answer, but go
what's
ahead.
the economics looking like? Like, I'm thinking in terms of like, cost is probably just going to be all the things that you're bringing on. And then obviously like a fixed cost for like the rent. Well, you have your own property now. But back then it was like renting out the space.
The costs
and
are
like the margins.
Costs are very easy, right? So your biggest for any event, your biggest expense is renting out the venue, right? Everything outside of that, I could walk to anybody's event and just start calculating how much it costs to put it on. For the most part.
And it's for like hosting any event.
Any event.
Just like the event business.
Yeah, because I mean, it's like we have to pay for a stage because there's no stage there. So we pay for the stage, security, backpack. We give everybody like backpacks and little trinkets and stuff. You got the printing costs of whatever you printed out. You have your website costs. You have to there's a way to calculate your website costs because the website is constant, right? That's there all day, but there's still a cost associated with it. So I divide that between all my events and my business in general.
That's interesting.
But if you got to rent some extra golf carts, food, we have food trucks, so we don't have an expense for food. We have food trucks and vendors that come out there. So they, people pay for their own food or they just cook their own food. Alcohol, as of late, I don't have alcohol costs because I have sponsors. However, prior to that, I would just go buy alcohol because there's an open bar all weekend long. Alcohol is not that expensive. So like for 1,500 people, I can go to the store and I just go buy some cases from Specs or any store, probably spend $1,800, a couple $1,000, but that's going to last. That's for like 1,500 people.
Make a big ass jungle juice bucket.
You can do that, but I mean, but if you pour right, like just one shot and drink, and it's an open bar, so you can come back. There's no need to over pour people's drinks.
Exactly.
So
everybody gonna be in that bitch.
Yeah. So I used to tell my bartenders like, yo, don't over pour it. Pour one shot. If they want some more, they can come back. After every single urban camp weekend, I always came back with cases of alcohol. You'd be surprised the amount of people who just don't drink that much. Or they brought their own stuff because you could bring your own stuff too.
True.
So some people.
And also you're catering to an older crowd, so it's not like college folks.
Oh, don't call my people old, bro.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, look, in college you drinking like 8 shots on some shit.
I would say the demographic of Urban Camp Weekend is from 26 to probably 60 something. You know what I mean? And there's people that bring their aunts, uncles, grandparents out there a couple times, but no, it's. I would say the median age is probably 30, 31, 32. Okay. Which is about the age I was when I first started it. And so, but no, it's just a good time. People come out there and have a good time. But as far as the economics of it, now that I have my own property, technically, Urban Events Global, which is a company, will cut a check to the Knight LaFair Investment Group, which is also my company, to rent out the venue. But it's a smaller cost for one. And I'm basically moving money from my right pocket to my left pocket.
What's
a large percentage of that money is still coming back to me anyway. Okay. So it's still, but for tax reasons, for legal reasons, I have to still show that transaction happening. Right. And when you do business, you don't want to mess with the IRS and all that stuff. You
Most
want to make
like
sure
commingling funds. And shit.
you want to make sure everything's done right, legit. So I actually have a contract between my two companies to do business with one another. So.
Okay, so quick question. So like on the economics part, is the opportunity cost better than like the stock market? I guess
Absolutely,
way better.
Yeah, the return on the yeah.
So for somebody who like who's interested in the
And
events,
going
right? Because
into-
obviously you got some options. You could put the
Right.
money in the stock market or put it in. That's probably where you're gonna get the best return. Historically.
Your best return, and so again, I spent 16 years, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, private equity, real estate investment trust, insurance. That was my world, and teaching people how to invest. If you're an entrepreneur, I wouldn't invest in the stock market. The only thing because you're a stock, why don't you invest in yourself? So like if you're going to invest if you have an extra $500, $1,000 a month to invest in the stock market, what you're saying is I'm going to give 1,000 of my dollars to somebody else's company, so they can grow their company and make it bigger. Instead of growing your own, bet on yourself. Hire another staff person for $1,000 a month. You know what I mean? Why give it to somebody else, or pay for an online course for $1,000 that month, or like step your own game up, because it's a continuous learning environment.
It is. It's like cumulative. That's what I tell him, because he's in the tech world and I'm in the finance. Well, I used to be, right? Now I'm doing WIN, but like I still invest on the side. And I tell him that learning in finance is cumulative, right? You're reading reports and you start finding out about different metrics, and everything just keeps compiling, and it can help you out.
Here's like, that's not to say I don't have any investment accounts, because I still have my old investment accounts.
Right.
There are a few stocks that I have purchased over the last 5 or 10 years because I use them a lot. I use their services a lot. So like I use Uber a lot. I use Uber Eats a lot. You know what I mean? I use Amazon
like a loyal user.
Exactly.
So so the things that I use a lot, it's like to make me feel better. I might as well own some of their stock. You know what I mean?
Like,
I feel like
you're
I'm
not
giving
only
back
a
to myself.
consumer now, you're an owner.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
But besides that, obviously you can see like pictures of my daughter. So like her 529 plan is in the market.
What is a 529?
So you know what a 401k is, right?
Right.
So 401k is technically not a plan. People think it's really a plan. It's really not a plan. 401k is section 401 subsection K of the IRS tax code, which explains how companies can get write-offs for letting you invest in their type of plans. You go down, section 403 subsection B is the same thing as a 401k, but it's for nonprofits, hospitals, schools.
That's what I had
Yeah, so
at
the
school
403B.
when I used to work at
SMU.
SMU.
Yeah, it
was different
403B.
than a 401k.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing, 401k, 403B. It's just so after they wrote the 401k rules for profit companies, they went down to you guys for the non.
Gotcha. No wonder. I was like, what the hell is a 403B exactly?
Yeah. 529 is way down there. That's just for kids. And so in Texas, a 529 plan, you can invest. Let me try the best way to simplify this. Basically, it's the same as a 401k and 403b plan, but you can invest for your kid, and then at 18, they can use those funds for college.
Bro, I didn't even know that.
That's amazing.
That's
you don't gotta
good.
wait till what's a 401k, 63 or something?
Yeah. So 529 plans have been around for over 20 years. They've been around for a long time, or at least, let me say at least since 06, but I'm pretty sure they were around before that.
And so for your daughter, you just be funneling money in there?
Yeah, I just put a little bit of money each month. It just comes out of my account, right into her account, and then it goes into like a mutual fund that's in that 529 plan. And then for Christmases or birthdays, if people send her money or cash at me money, then I'll put it in there because I'm not really the toy buyer. I don't really do the birthday, Christmas stuff. If you want a bike, let's go get a bike. If you want a toy, we're not about to like be like. She has grandparents for that, you know what I mean? But her grandparents do all the toys. I'm not doing the toy. I don't want her to be a spoiled little kid that's like, what are you getting me for a birthday? What are you getting me for Christmas? Like, no, we work for this stuff. And so, but her mom, wonderful mom, she's the, let's get ready for the Easter bunny type person. Yeah. So she's not missing out on the Santa Claus experience or whatever, but I'm not reiterating like, look what Santa got you. No, this is what Daddy got you.
Type shit.
This is what Daddy got you.
Will you consider Dubai one of like your biggest trips? Like one of the best places you've been to?
They're all different. When you travel,
I feel like
you
a
get
Dubai
something.
trip is very luxurious. Right?
Yeah, they're all different. Now, everywhere we go, we're in a 5-star hotel. I will say that. So whether in Ghana, South Africa, just because I got to sleep in a nice place. Yeah. But we're gonna go into the city and do some fun touristy stuff. Go to some restaurants, turn up, do all the stuff that you saw on Instagram that you want to do. We'll do all that, and then we'll do a little bit more.
All the experiences and shit.
But Dubai is a unique experience that I didn't think. Dubai, the first time I went to Dubai, it was on a layover. I was on my way to Cape Town. And so I had like an 18-hour or 10-hour layover in Dubai. My boy Matt was living there. I said, hey, Matt, when I land, I'm actually gonna check into a hotel just so I could like rest, shower, do all that. But like, yo, let's show me something. You know what I mean? He showed me something, and we kicked it. I said, oh shit, this place is all right.
Dubai's live.
Shout out to Matt.
So then I went to Cape Town for like 7-8 days. On my return flight, on the way back, kicked it again. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do an event here.
Dang.
And then that was years ago, and now Dubai's only gotten better since then.
Yeah.
And now I'm guessing you like setting up your plugs out there too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like connections, relationships.
It's easy, yeah. It only takes me like 1 or 2 trips to really make some connections, because a lot of these places thrive off of tourism. Dubai actually thrives off of tourism. It's not oil money like people think. Abu Dhabi is oil money, which is right down the street. Right. That's the balling city. Dubai balls, like Dubai balling, but it's tourist money, real estate money, but it's not just oil and gas. Like they have very few oil and gas reserves left in Dubai. It's really Abu Dhabi, which is like where.
What do you have a place where it was like the hardest to kind of get everybody there to? I know some places require
the only place that's difficult would be Ghana. Would be you just need a visa, so it's like an extra step you got to take is getting a visa, which.
No type of shots, because I know when we went to where was it?
You need is it yellow fever?
I think Turkey. No,
it was somewhere I forgot, man. Yeah, but they were asking for like shots and stuff.
Yeah, Ghana. We needed like I want to say like a yellow fever shot or something. I can't remember, but I had it. And then once you get it, you don't need it for like another 10 years or something. Okay. But I'd say Ghana. But that was actually one of our biggest trips too. It was like during the year of the return. There had some festivals out there. It was dope. It was a dope time. But travel is pretty easy, and travel is as expensive or as cheap as you decide to make it.
Right. Is there like I'm going back to the economics question here, because like now you're starting to do these bigger trips, right? More people come in. Is there like an economies of scale that starts taking place in your business, or you don't really have that effect?
No. So like the more people on the trip, the better it is expense wise. Because you have some fixed costs. Like my expenses are gonna be my flight, my room, my staff's flight, my room. So if I gotta try to make all that up in just 1 or 2 people, that means I have to charge them this much money.
True. Yeah.
But if I have 40, 50 people or just 15 people, then
it's
per person,
to the other people too.
what they've spent, like on my spreadsheet, it's like, these are my sunken costs. This is how much my room's gonna cost, my staff's room, my flight. So, and obviously, if you want to make something profitable, you have to cover your expenses. Yeah. This is what my photographer is going to cost. This is what this is going to cost. These are the tours. This is what the hotel is going to cost. And then you start playing with the numbers and make it make sense. And so I'm like, okay, I need like 8 people on this trip just to break even. Everybody up there, like number 9, 10, 11, 12, I'm going to make this amount per extra person that comes. But
it's very interesting you say that, bro, because like I feel like a lot of people who are starting their businesses or entrepreneurship, one of the biggest challenges is pricing. You just said I take care of my sunken costs and make sure like I could price something that produces a profit over that. So it's really a trial and error. It sounds like
it is a trial and error, because you never know who's going to go to your website and sign up.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of scary. It's like, well, you put it out there. What if only 8 people sign up? It's like, dang, well, you can't really cancel it. I mean, you could, but then that looks bad for your business. Yeah. So it's like, okay, do I take this loss, or do I like, and fortunately, we've been in positions where we haven't had to cross that bridge yet. But, you know, if we do, we'd be ready for it. You know, like for example, when the pandemic hit, I think I had to we had like so many trips lined up. People had already started paying.
Dang.
So like I was looking at almost like 600,000 in refunds.
Angelo was just asking me. He was like, "Man, I wonder how it went."
Yeah, I was actually gonna ask you.
COVID, was it tough? Was that like one of your down points, or?
The business took like a 60% hit for sure, but you know, it's like a vacation for me a little bit because I was kind of we had a lot going on, so like I was able to just kind of relax. The only nervous part was like, man, if I got to push this refund button for $600,000 right now, and I've already sent some of that over to like the hotels and the tours, because when they send us money for their trips, we have to send it to the hotels, the tour guides. Like we're prepaying for a lot of this stuff.
Right.
And we don't know if we're gonna get our money back from them yet. You know what I mean? So we're hitting refunds a bunch of times, hoping that, you know, we're gonna eventually get our money back one day from the hotel that already took our $50,000 deposit or this or that. And so it worked out.
Were you spazzing, bro? Like,
no,
he says it's so chill, but he's 600 racks. I'm just in this bitch like
probably in the dark, just watching TV.
No, it was. But then we also gave people a credit. Like if you don't want a refund, but you just want a credit for the next trip, you have up to 3 years to spend a credit.
Smart,
So quite a few people took that option. I was like, okay, well, that works. You know, and then some
it's
people
like
had
the brand
travel
loyalty
insurance.
you have. You know, people trusting you with that.
Yeah.
Because my guy over here was spazzing off of his portfolio. I remember he was like,
My shit
yo,
was down like
it's
40
down,
something
it's
racks. It was
down.
like, I have most of my net worth in there.
Really?
Yeah, like 90%. So,
It was
but
bad.
I'm very like an active investor. Like, if I was not doing Wend, I would be a hedge fund manager. You know? Like, I only have 5 stocks, and I did very, very good analysis. I understand risk too.
Right.
I know it can happen. I've had shit happen to me that regular investors don't have. Like I had an Enron situation with a company called Luckin Coffee, and I lost 100% of the investment. By the way, the stock came back from like bankruptcy, and now their stock, I was down at $2 when I sold it. It's like 24.
Yeah, so you would have kept it.
And I actually bought a huge stake because I was like, oh, this happens all the time in the market. And then it went from $4 to $2, and I was like, nah, sell it. They got delisted, and it's just like, so yeah, I was spazzing.
Yeah,
but you know what? A lot of people do buy high and sell low, because by the time you hear about a stock, it's usually from a friend of a friend or somebody. Well, that stock's probably already gone up 30% by the time it even reached your front desk. You know what I mean? By your front door. And so it's kind of like pump and dump. It's like by the time you hear about it, they're gonna start selling it.
Yeah, they already made their money.
They got it at $10. You're getting it at $25.
Yeah, he's just the last.
You're about to raise the price up to 30. They're gonna start selling theirs at 30. You know. So what investments you basically have to kind of, if you don't know what you're doing, then I say you go with the long plays. You know what I mean? Where like Amazon, Google, you know, Meta, like those companies they have like a chokehold on the game.
Yeah.
Or like you said, bet on yourself. I feel like a lot of you know, one of the cool things from this pod is that you're one of the first people where I feel like you had a project and really scaled it. You know, I think events in general is very hard because it's kind of intangible, you know? And you got to make people believe that, hey, my event is like live as hell. Whereas, let's say, like we talked to Jay Hills, right? He has his own gym and everything. You come in there and you see it. It's like automatic because you have it right there and there.
Yeah.
But when an event, you got to wait on people to come in. It's kind of like a network, like a social media. You know, more people start coming into the network and more value keeps forming and forming. So like the fact that now you, what was it, like months ago, you were being nominated by
USA Today.
USA Today.
Yeah. So yeah, they started that award I think 2 or 3 years ago, and so ever since they started the adventure travel company, we've been in top 5. I think now for like 3 years in a row. Top 5 adventure travel company in the country.
That's crazy, bro.
And so it's fun.
How does that shit feel? It's kind of like, oh, I knew we was going in that route.
You're always happy to be noticed. You know what I mean? But in your mind, you're thinking bigger stuff anyway, and you try not to let that stuff. You try not to let that stuff.
Not to get like comfortable, right?
Right.
You're like, okay, looking for the next big thing.
Right, because an award can help you or it can hurt you. You know, it can hurt you if you get too comfortable.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you're just like, oh yeah, we're just gonna ride this wave.
We're good.
And you just get passed on by.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like in the music industry, you know, the way that industry has changed just based on technology.
Oh man.
You know what I mean? Like if you think about the way music is done, like you don't even have like R&B groups anymore because that took like artist development.
Yeah.
So that was like somebody finding 3 people and be like, oh, y'all would sound good together. Let's make a group.
Yeah.
Now, and then you know, and then the record label steps in, develops you and all that. Now you're famous like on YouTube already before the record
TikTok
label
song,
the record label finds you nowadays. You're not running to them; they find you. Like, yo, you're popping. You know, you're like, no, I want to stay independent. I want to own my masters. Like, they've learned own your masters, own your information, own your shit, and you're winning.
Something that needs to get, people are starting to realize that, but still pushing that, bridging the gap, because business is kind of like the same thing as music, right? Like, you have people like Nipsey Hussle who was selling out the trunk, or Jay-Z who they just signed distribution deals, but they own all the rights.
All the rights,
Publishing rights, like the digital music rights, everything. Business is the same thing. I try to tell, like, with Wend, our whole mission is building equity in us, because I feel like there's a lot of people that don't understand, bro. If you really start owning something and you do it with passion, kind of like you, started out as a project, you were passionate about traveling, and you start expanding from there, it's equity that becomes more valuable. As it becomes more valuable, you can think about it just like shares, you know what I'm saying? Those shares become more valuable. Later on, you can incorporate or something like that, but that's really what we're trying to push out.
And you just become a brand. Like, I look at a lot of these YouTube, we had a conversation about a YouTube personality earlier, and he was making like $16,000 a month, but then they cut his channel off, and then they started shadow banning him. And so it's like he's a brand in himself, but yet some of the platforms that you need can also shut you down. I've seen some pretty funny comedians that have said like something that may not be culturally appropriate, and then on Instagram and Facebook they're shadow banned. So they didn't take their account, but they made it to where it's hard to find your account.
That's bullshit.
And then it's like, what do you do? Like, even let's say Tekashi 6ix9ine, his account's hard to find, and has a blue check mark. He's super famous. Charleston White, his account's hard to find. What's that dude that does the voiceovers? There's quite a few famous people that have been shadow banned just off of stuff they've said.
Or like that dude, Steve Will Do It, the white boy from Nelk podcast. From YouTube.
He had to go to Rumble.
And so you got to be careful, because these brands can still control,
your ownership, whatever you do.
But these kids are making, adults, they're making a lot of money on just YouTube channels. But what is YouTube? YouTube is TV. Who needs cable? You have YouTube. On YouTube. You just need Wi-Fi on YouTube.
Like the economic transaction is just watching.
Because you're in a battle for people's attention. If somebody works from 9 to 5, they get home, cook some dinner, whatever. You have from like 6:30 to whatever time you go to bed to capture that person's attention.
Right.
Whether it's a podcast, whether it's a TV show, a football game, whatever. If you're in media, that's how much time you have. So you're in competition with everything else they could be doing.
For real.
You're in competition with them walking down the street, walking their dog, chit-chatting. Well, nowadays you walk your dog, you're still watching your phone. But you're at the whims and wishes of this device. More people watch this device than watch that TV.
Yeah, bro. So I think one of the biggest things, like an entrepreneur journey, there's a lot of things that you start to realize, especially when you go off corporate and start finding shit your way, which is something that you've done for the past, 10 years? So I'm sure you've learned a lot of lessons, not only from the entrepreneur journey, but also from like the business perspective. As you go up on game, you're learning like different keys that you just didn't know back then. I wanted to kind of hear from you, like, what are some top 5, or just top of mind?
Top of mind, always read the contract, because the money is always in the contract. The money is always in the fine words. Read. A lot of people don't read. Like, you win by reading. Like, whatever somebody puts in front of you, read.
Not skim.
Yeah,
I do that a lot. Like, skim. I call it reading. He was like, nah.
Don't skim, or you're gonna read the hard
30
way.
pages, man. Fuck that.
Right. Read it, because that contract is going to tell you where other people have failed before. Any contract that I've had to sign, like if I had to rent out a facility and I'm reading it, I'm like, man, if this happens, then this or this happens. I'm like, somebody must have did that, because you only write that stuff in the contract if you got screwed over in the past.
Right.
So that's that. Every contract I read is actually teaching me what not to do or what to make sure I have tight before I enter it. So read, invest in a decent legal team at some point. Choose your business partners wisely. Your business partner you're going to spend more time with than your spouse. And If you think your spouse gets on your nerves sometimes, that business partner is definitely gonna get on your nerves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because truth be told, you're marrying that business partner. Yeah. You're in a legal 50-50 or 30% array. You're in some arrangement with them that if this doesn't work out, we gotta go to court.
Right.
Just like if you're married, if that doesn't work out, you gotta go to court. And your whole business can get tied up in a 2, 3, 4 year legal battle. It's just done. You know, control as much of your product as possible. Or like, for example, if you're working with a developer, make sure the developer or the person that's doing your website is using coding that if you need to step in, you can kind of fix it yourself. Because if you piss off the developer or the person who's doing your website, they could just be like, screw you.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you have to hire someone else to decode what they just did, they're like, no, we got to start from scratch. It's gonna be $15,000.
Like a sunk cost or something.
Bro.
Yeah. They're not gonna go in there and want to read someone else's crazy stuff.
They would rather just start from scratch.
They'd rather start from
and
scratch.
charge you that money too, because they know they're about to get paid.
Yeah. And you don't have a choice. Like you're handcuffed. You're tied to that. So read the contract. Choose your business partners wisely. Even the ones that you're just going into a little one-on-one deal with. You know, from a data standpoint, every business should be in the business of collecting data. You and I talked about this a little bit.
Yeah, you told me that.
When's the last time you paid Twitter or YouTube or TikTok or Meetup or Facebook to use their platforms? Unless you're boosting ads, but you haven't. Well, you think they're doing it for their health? Like, you're the product. You're giving them data so they can do what with? Sell it to people like me who is going to buy that and say, hey, push these ads to them.
Yeah.
You know, there's a reason why when you're browsing the internet, you start seeing camera equipment ads and media ads. It's because they followed you from all the different websites you've gone to through the Google or Facebook pixels, and they're showing you what you need to see. That's because you give them data every day. Hey, I'm at so-and-so today, or look, I'm taking a selfie at like they know where you're at. You're telling them.
Right.
So you need to do the same thing, collect data on your clients, and then send them newsletters or emails or text blasts, whatever the case is. You have to be able to get in touch with them if you get kicked off of any of your social media platforms.
Right.
They'll kick anybody off. They've kicked Kanye off. They've kicked Donald Trump off.
They've kicked. About that.
They'll kick anybody off. You know, or your account could get hacked. And whatever it is, how can you get back in touch with your customers? You know, be able to control your own narrative. What else about being an entrepreneur? You really need to learn. You're gonna have to sit in time out and learn every part of your business, from marketing, accounting, sales, because the buck stops with you. And if you don't know it, somebody's gonna overcharge you for it. You know what I mean? So find ways to make your business run more efficiently. You know what I mean? More efficient. Like, for example, a lot of people use Fiverr now to get
I used to Upwork.
Upwork, Fiverr. So Upwork and Fiverr put a lot of little side businesses out of business. You know, when you would try to pay somebody $100 to do a flyer, $150 to do this flyer, Fiverr do it for like $15 now.
Type shit.
You see what I'm saying? So there's a lot of things that you're getting work from overseas and people just doing it a lot cheaper. But you have to find those tools. Unless somebody tells you, you know, use Canva, use Fiverr, use this or use that, you're paying so-and-so down the street.
Who's just using the same tool.
Using the same tool, and you just pay triple. And every dollar counts. So unless you just got money to trick off and throw away, you need that extra $10-15.
Well, bro, look, I really appreciate you for having us on the podcast.
For
with
real,
you.
what a great conversation.
Before you leave, where can people find you? You know, I think there's gonna be a lot of people interested in taking trips or whatever. So
we're interested too.
UrbanEventsGlobal.com. And so on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, YouTube, TikTok, Meetup, you type in Urban Events Global and you'll find us.
For sure.
All right.
I heard that.
All right, family. Till next time.
Peace.